Joe Biggs, what is it like for you? Because, again, you were in heavy combat. It was written about in magazines. You had big reporters embedded with your combat unit. I mean, and then you told me on the phone, you're like, listen, this is more dangerous on average than being in country. A lot of those folks didn't like radical jihadists. They must have only brought radical jihadists in here. And that's what the media now admits. Europe is like picking only the very worst to bring into Europe. What do you think's going on here, Joe?
Well, first off, I'd like to go into what happened today. I believe that today was a diversion. After the capture of Abdul Salam, the other sleeper cells in that Molenbeek area knew that they needed to do something to create a diversion so they can move those cells out of that area and take their network somewhere else where they could essentially rebuild and gain strength to conduct more attacks. Now, the attack was also probably done in part, by the fact that they had captured Abdul Salam as well. But the fact that he was captured in that area that we were walking around, Zimmerman, Watson, myself, without any police escort, without any help, shows you that there was some kind of break in that community. Somebody said something, and those guys needed to create a diversion to get out of there. And I believe there will be more attacks. I believe London will be probably one of the next ones. But I don't think it's over in that area yet. I think there's going to be a lot more going on.
Getting back, though, to you saying, look, the saturation of anti-Westerners here is the highest I've ever seen on the phone. And I'm like, really, Joe? And you're like, yes, these people are trying to ram us with cars in our faces, throwing us out everywhere. It goes for miles and miles. You were really shocked. You said it's worse than we even were told. And then they say Donald Trump's a conspiracy theorist for saying there's no-go zones in London, no-go zones in Brussels, no-go zones in Paris.
And I was completely mind-blown at the fact that people were writing these, comments on these YouTube videos where, we had done the radio show that night with you, and we're saying that we had been chased out of there. And they're like, oh, these things don't exist. There's no such thing as a no-go zone. You guys are making this whole story up. Well, what do you have to say about it now? It does exist. The fact that the three of us were out there with no weapons whatsoever, no escort, shows you the amount of danger that we were in and the people that live in that area.
And by the way, they shoot people all the time, and the media hardly reports it. In Sweden, they order them not to report shootings and rapes if it's done by a jihadi.
Any one of us could have been in another CIA room, a green screen room, getting our heads chopped off. The fact that these people were screaming, chasing us in cars. We tried to seek refuge inside of what seemed to be like a restaurant or something. This guy jumps in front of Watson and grabs a door and was basically, get the hell out of here. That is a very volatile spot. And these people, it's not a religion of peace. And like Watson said, it's not a small number of these people. It's a very large amount of people. And there's nothing wrong with Donald Trump going, hey, let's shut this down for a second. Let's figure out a better way to vet this so we don't have more of these attacks.
Incredible. Well, we got Tim Kennedy coming in today, and that should be very, very informative because obviously he's taken out a lot of the top terrorist targets. That's classified, but the point is I separately have gone and researched it. But it's just so clear that the elite have brought these people in. They've done it. They're letting them attack us. They're bringing in even more. And then they're going to take our freedoms when they attack. This is a false flag. I mean, is there any doubt in your mind that the establishment knows full well what they're doing, Joe? And where do you think they're going with this? And then Paul Watson.
Well, of course they know what they're doing. I mean, we already saw it happen in the Paris attacks. This is stuff that's going to continue to happen if we don't do something. And the fact that we don't have one presidential candidate other than Trump that really has a plan to stop something like this and take a step back and look at it and reassess the situation and actually do something positive for the American people. We already have people like Merkel and all these other folks like Hollande that are completely ignoring the fact that these people are coming into their countries and killing them. Instead, they'd rather kiss their butts and go, oh, okay, let's bring them in. Let's bring in more. Let's bring in more.
And then notice again, it's that overturning of reality where Soros, Megyn Kelly, all these people come out and say Trump is stirring up ISIS. It's Trump's fault when they attack. And then when the sleeper cells activate, they're going to go on the news like the Washington Post and say, arrest Trump. I mean, folks, think of, and then police officers go off duty, black police officers, you name it, and say the Trump people do nothing, and the anti-Trump people run around hitting, spitting, and attacking, and the media says it's their fault. Folks, this is Soros and the globalist allied with the jihadists, communists, and every other form of filth attacking us. Here's Donald Trump in January warning of exactly what was really happening. Here it is.
We do admit 100,000 Muslims on a permanent basis here every year, and this is going to be is already the largest religion in the world. Can you really say, let's do a temporary halt?
There's something going on, Maria. Go to Brussels, go to Paris, go to different places. There's something going on, and it's not good, where they want Sharia law, where they want this, where they want things that, you know, there has to be some assimilation. There is no assimilation. There's something bad going on. And until we find out what it is so we can correct it, you go to Brussels. I was in Brussels a long time ago, 20 years ago. So beautiful. Everything's so beautiful. It's like living in a hellhole right now. You go to these different places, there's something going on.
See, Trump is really informed, and they can't stand it. And Trump needs to come out. He almost did it at AIPAC and said, look, NATO's with ISIS. And then Cruz goes, that's dumb. They're fighting ISIS. No, they helped put ISIS in and al-Qaeda. So Trump knows everything, folks. He's ready to destroy them. He's ready to bring out how criminals in our government, the Clintons and the Bushes, work with the Saudis on 9/11. The military's awake. The military, as you know, Joe, 4 years ago said no to launching attacks to back ISIS and al-Qaeda, to their credit. That's got to really scare the globalists, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I spoke with a British couple over South by Southwest here at the event in Austin. And the wife was actually telling me how her and her husband went to the UAE. And when she went there, she thought about the culture. She goes, you know what? I'm not going to wear a skirt. I'm going to wear jeans. I'm going to be respectful of how they are. So she was walking around to the UAE, had no, cleavage type, anything showing, no legs, nothing like that. It was very respectful of the culture. And she says now when she goes back home to London where she lives in certain areas, when she dresses the way that's part of their culture, she gets looked at, called a whore, spit at, and completely demonized because these people, like you said, are not assimilating whatsoever.
Well, what's amazing is they mix with this weird leftist hatred. They're so entitled, from what I've been told. They're worse than in their own countries now here in the West, with the left backing them and loving it. What sick, bizarre filth. Paul, these aren't leftists. What do you call these bizarro folks?
Well, they act like fascists, so why not call them fascists? And I mean, ISIS in its own manifesto said, you know, radical Islamists share a lot of the same beliefs as the modern progressive left. So we should start recruiting them, radicalizing them, and arming them. They said that in their own documents. So that's a major correlation. The other point is you've got a lot of people on the left, again, saying blaming foreign policy for terrorist acts like this. Well, you can argue that arming jihadists in Libya and Syria by NATO was a disastrous policy. It was. But then you look at Belgium specifically. Okay, they were against the Iraq war from the very start. They suspended their bombing campaign against ISIS in Syria 8 months ago, and they still got attacked by terrorists. So you can't use that excuse over and over again, blaming it on foreign policy to absolve Islam of blame.
Well, again, let's expand. France backed al-Qaeda and ISIS, the #1 group, it's on record, to take over Syria. And so ISIS is attacking France to give Hollande cover to take French freedom. Look, Hollande is working for ISIS. I'm not just saying that, folks. It's 100% proof. We have them. They let them bring them in. They have suspended the liberties. Paul, is there any doubt that Hollande and Merkel are actually, I guarantee you, they're meeting with ISIS leadership?
Well, they would rather their own citizens be killed than admit that multiculturalism is a completely failed and disastrous policy. That's what it comes down to.
Yes, but they've been quarterbacking funding ISIS and al-Qaeda in Syria. They worked with Turkey to bring them in. It's worse than that, Paul.
No, it's a complete disaster on all sides.
No,
of the
they
equation,
hate Europe. They want to destroy it. Exactly.
I mean, even the lead singer Jesse Hughes from Eagles of Death Metal, the band that was playing at the Bataclan Theater when that horrendous attack happened, said that he thought that this was an inside job. The fact that he said that there was supposed to be a large amount of security that never even showed up, and only one did, and he was in the back stage area. And he said he kept getting a bad feeling, and he kept asking these guys, who is this guy? It doesn't feel right. I don't want to go on with this. And then that entire thing unfolded. So there's definitely something going on.
And by the way, I want the lead singer of Eagles of Death on immediately.
Yeah, I've already contacted him. He's out of town. I spoke with his one of his managers out in L.A. the other day.
Well, good job. I know I'm ranting here. Paul Watson, come back. You were trying to say something. I'm just so angry. I'm so angry at these pigs like Hollande and Merkel and Obama, all anti-West, anti-freedom trash, bringing in the most abusive, anti-liberty scum, anti-female scum. I have daughters, and I'm sick of the left saying they have the moral high ground over women. You people hate women, you damn pieces of crap. Excuse me, I'm going to stop. It's a family show. I apologize. But I have had enough of these people.